Hello, and welcome to another edition of AppSec Decoded. I'm Taylor Armerding, security advocate with the Synopsys Software Integrity Group, and today we're going to be talking about challenges in AppSec and how the industry can and should evolve to overcome them. Joining me to talk about that is Rod Musser, our guru on the topic, who brings 7 years of experience in managing products that assess and visualize organizations' security risks. Before he became a product manager, Rod was a developer, architect, and development manager for enterprise software. So I think his experience kind of covers all the bases. He came to us earlier this year when White Hat Security joined the Synopsys family. So welcome, Rod, and thanks for joining the stable of AppSec Decoded experts.
Thanks for having me, Taylor.
Sure. And let's get right into it by defining the problem. What are the challenges the market is currently facing in application security, and how have they evolved over the last few years?
Well, with the rapid adoption of cloud computing and DevOps, organizations are capable of delivering continuous business value in their digital space.
Right.
You know, it used to be organizations would deploy new applications once a year, once a quarter, and nowadays they deploy new apps and updates several times a day, or even several times an hour. And in addition to that, in the last couple of years, organizations have been forced to move a lot of their operations and offerings into the digital space. And so as a result, we've seen an explosion of new applications get deployed. And so the challenge for the security team is that they have to defend a much larger attack surface that is changing rapidly.
I was going to say, when you talked about, how many new updates or the applications, I get 4 or 5 of them on my phone every morning when I wake up, updates. So
right, exactly. Just look at how many times an application gets updated on your phone.
Exactly. So can you explain in some detail now what kind of problems those roadblocks are causing?
Yeah, so since those apps are continuously getting updated, the results from a point-in-time security assessment age rapidly. If an application is getting updated, multiple times a week or multiple times a day, security test from 6 months ago probably doesn't reflect your current security risk. And as companies go digital and invest in larger development teams, the investment in the AppSec team isn't growing at the same rate. So the ratio of application security professionals to developers continues to grow within organizations. I've seen numbers of one AppSec person for 80 developers or 100 developers. Yeah, so this is creating an increasing gap between the applications an organization can develop and what they can secure.
That's like having 80 kids in a classroom, I would think, or something.
Exactly.
All right, well then what solutions should organizations consider to help them address those problems?
Right. So, organizations need to be looking for solutions that can continually assess their ever expanding and ever changing attack surface. And you're going to want a solution that brings security testing expertise to the table. So it augments your existing team skill sets. And you want a solution that verifies vulnerabilities, because you don't want to be wasting your time chasing down false positives. And finally, you want a solution where you can track your vulnerability exposure over time. Is your program getting better, or is it getting worse and you need to take corrective action?
Since you came to us from White Hat, a little pitch here. How does White Hat Dynamic, which is a software as a service dynamic application security testing, or DAST solution, help to meet those needs?
Right. So the White Hat Dynamic is unique in the fact that it is a true dynamic application security testing tool as a service.
Right.
So what that means is it's very easy for you to onboard new apps to get tested. We take care of, our service delivery teams take care of the configuring the scanner. They take care of things like authorization and authentication into the website. And they make sure that that scan is running efficiently and as effectively as possible.
Right.
Furthermore, our scans can be run concurrently. So regardless of how many number of applications you have, we can scale up to meet that number. Some of our larger customers have hundreds of applications under test right now, and our infrastructure can support that requirement. An important distinction for us is that our scans are production safe, which means that as we are probing and testing for vulnerabilities in your site, we are not going to affect the business functionality that your website's providing. So you're going to be able to discover the vulnerabilities without any actual adverse effects to your application. And an advantage of dynamic application security testing is that it treats the application like a black box. And that means we can scan web applications regardless of what front end or back end technologies that application was developed in, including single page application frameworks. And then once we do find vulnerabilities, we combine artificial and human intelligence to verify that those are true vulnerabilities. And so that eliminates the need for you to go down and chase down your false positives. And then furthermore, if you have questions about those vulnerabilities, you can actually get direct access to our application security experts to ask questions about those vulnerabilities.
Right.
And then finally, we provide dashboards and reporting so you can track those vulnerability trends over time. And one report that is unique to White Hat Dynamic is our White Hat Security Index. You can think of that as essentially as a credit score for your web application security and how well you're doing. And you can even compare how you're doing relative to other White Hat customers in your industry or even overall.
The reporting that I do, near zero false positives is like a holy grail. I keep hearing that if developers get overwhelmed with false positives, they just tune everything out.
Exactly. So it's the boy who cried wolf situation.
Yeah, exactly. Final question then. I think I know the answer to this, but is security required in just the production environment?
No, of course you want to integrate security testing into your entire software development lifecycle.
Right.
You want to identify the vulnerabilities before they have a chance of getting into production. But just like functional defects, the earlier you detect vulnerabilities, the cheaper it is to mitigate them.
Absolutely.
And so this is what people are calling DevSecOps, right?
Yeah.
It's introducing security into the software development lifecycle. So that can be things like adopting models like BSIM, developing security champions on your development teams,
right,
and integrating security tools into your DevOps processes. And taking these steps are going to minimize the number of vulnerabilities that reach production. And it's going to reduce the burden on your security teams to monitor what's going on in production. They'll have a lot fewer vulnerabilities to have to manage. Right. And so that gap between development and AppSec will close.
Saving money, saving time, what's not to like,
Exactly, right.
And we will leave it there. Once again, you have been watching AppSec Decoded. Thank you for joining us. We have been talking with Rod Musser and talking about the challenges in application security and how to deal with them and overcome them. So thank you once again for joining us. I'm Taylor Armerding, once again, security advocate for the Synopsys Software Integrity Group, where we help organizations to build trust into their software.